Good day everyone! Didiscuss natin yung Lesson 2, Physical Properties of Solutions and activity handouts or notes for A, B, and C only. For A, types of solution. Solution is a homogeneous mixture of two or more substances and the composition are uniformly distributed and may be varied within definite limit. In a mixture, the dissolved substance is called a solute. Ito siya. While the dissolving medium here is called a solvent. So in figure 2.1, a solution is made up of solute and solvent. For example, nito is sugar. I-dilute mo siya sa tubig. And then after that, pag na-mix mo na, magiging solution siya because the crystal sugar will dissolve into liquid. Kaya siya natawag na solution. Notes: like dissolves like. Two substances with similar intermolecular forces of attractions are likely to be soluble in each other. When we say soluble, ibig sabihin, they are interacting with each other. And when we say insoluble, they don't interact with each other. The like dissolves like rule is nonpolar molecules are soluble in nonpolar solvent. In our periodic table, nonpolar molecules usually have elements that are hydrogen, carbon, and the fluorine, yung F2, it is a compound. Chlorine, Cl2, ClCl, bromine, Br, iodine, I2, I, and the noble gases, helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, radon. Pag nakita mo, yun sila, it is nonpolar. And then, polar molecules are soluble in polar solvent. Polar molecules consist of, usually, meron yung carbon, pero, the polar or the power of the polar will fall into the electronegativity of the element. And oxygen is an electronegative element. Nitrogen also. Phosphorus, sulfur, selenium, and the halogens. If it is connected to the carbon, halimbawa, carbon and hydrogen, and then may nakita kang oxygen, and that is automatically polar because sa oxygen is maraming electronegative power ang oxygen. Also, the fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine, if nakasingle lang, single fluorine only, single chlorine, single bromine, single iodine, it is an electronegative element. So, pag nakakita kayo ng mga chemical substances or chemical names na merong chlorine, again, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, na single bonded, and oxygen, sulfur, selenium, nitrogen, and phosphorus, yan sila is mga polar compounds or polar molecules. Ionic compounds, usually, ionic compounds are most soluble in polar solvent. Kasi, ang ionic compounds, they are usually the metals. Here, ito, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, beryllium, magnesium. At ito sila, copper, cobalt, iron, manganese. And sila, zinc. Kapag nakita mo yan sila, they are ions. Ion element. Tapos, they are easily dissolved in polar solvent. So that's the rule of like dissolves like. There are three different types of solution, and those three different types are according to the solute dissolved in the solvent, the presence of solute in and out of a membrane, and the types of solution according to its phase. So let's tackle first the first type of solution is amount of solute dissolved in a solvent. Ito, let's focus on this picture. Figure 2.2, from left to right, the increasing amount of solute is added to the solvent. Unsaturated solution means that the solute is less than the amount of solvent. Ibig sabihin, you can add more solute to the solvent para maging saturated siya. When we say saturated solution, ibig sabihin, na-reach na ng solution yung equilibrium, meaning equal amount of solute na ang nandoon and yung solvent is equal na rin doon sa solute. So, if you add more solute into that, magiging super saturated na yung solution mo. Ang tendency is that yung solute na inad mo will no longer be diluted or will no longer be dissolved in the solvent. So, ang labas niyan is magkikrystallize siya dito sa baba. For example is yung sugar na tinunaw natin sa tubig. The more sugar na i-add mo dun sa tubig, magiging super saturated yung solution mo. And then, yung crystal ng sugar dun sa tubig na yun, kahit anong halo mo, ay hindi na matutunaw pa unless applyan mo siya ng heat or dagdagan mo ng tubig. Next is presence of solute in and out of a membrane. Tatlong klase yan. Figure 2.3, the red blood cell, ito siya, submerged in a fluid of different concentrations. First scenario is the hypotonic solution. Hypotonic solution is when the solution doon sa loob ng cell is higher than or the concentration of the solution na nandoon sa loob ng cell is higher than the concentration daw ng tubig or yung concentration ng fluid outside the cell. The tendency is that if masyadong high yung concentration sa loob ng dugo, the low concentration fluid outside the cell, yung tubig niya is papasok siya doon sa red blood cell natin. And it will make the red blood cell swollen. Okay? The second scenario here is the isotonic solution. In isotonic solution, yung concentration ng solution inside our red blood cell is equal sa concentration ng fluid natin outside that cell. This kind of isotonic solution, ito yung applicable na dapat nandoon sa ating dugo. Yung fluid na to, tinutukoy dito is, usually, yan yung fluid na nandun, na nasa ating katawan, kung saan dinadalo yan ng dugo or yung red blood cell. So, dapat equal yung solution ng ating fluid sa red blood cell natin para maging normal yung ating health. The third scenario is the hypertonic solution. Ito naman yung solution na masyado nang concentrated yung fluid outside the red blood cell, making the red blood cell, yung tubig or yung concentration sa loob is very low. Yung tendency is yung tubig sa loob will go outside the fluid outside. Okay? Lalabas siya para yung tubig na yun will dilute the high concentration of the fluid outside. It will make your red blood cell shrink. That's that presence of solute in and out of membrane. Third is the types of solution according to phase. So, in table 2.1, types of solution according to phase and its common examples. Type of solution, gaseous solution, liquid solution, and solid solutions. Yung solute natin is gas, liquid, solid, gas, liquid, solid, gas, liquid, solid. And the solvent here is gas, liquid, and solid. If we say gaseous solutions, the solvent here is gas. And the solute is either gas, liquid, or solid. If we add, for example, gas to the solvent gas, common example niyan is mixture of oxygen and nitrogen gases or yung ating hangin. Itong nakapaligid sa atin. Next is liquid dinisolved sa gas. Common example nito is chloroform mixed with nitrogen gas. Okay? Solid naman, i-add natin sa gas. Camphor in nitrogen gas. Sa liquid solutions, ang solvent naman na sa liquid solution is of course liquid. And if we add gas into liquid solvent, example niyan is yung oxygen dissolved in water or the carbon dioxide dissolved in our beverage, yung mga iniinom natin beverages. Liquid-liquid naman is yung ethanol dissolved in water. Ethanol is alcohol. Solid to liquid, okay, glucose dissolved in water. Glucose is sugar. Next type of solution is solid solution. The solvent here is solid. And the gas is as a solute dissolved in a solvent. For example, niyan is a solution of hydrogen in palladium. Palladium is an element, is a metal element, and hydrogen gas. Okay? Liquid and solid. Liquid to solid. Amalgam of mercury with sodium. Mercury is a liquid element and sodium here is solid. Then solid to solid. Example niyan is yung copper natin na dinidissolve sa gold. Yung ating mga alahas, our jewelries is not pure gold. They are mixtures of alloys because pure gold will make your jewelry more malleable or mas madali siyang ma-deform. Mas madali siyang ma-deform kapag masyado siyang pure. And it will make your jewelries become brittle or, no, not brittle, but madaling masira or madaling ma-deform. So that's it for the types of solution. Let's go to the energy of solution formation. Question: how is table salt being produced from seawater? So the answer here is, the formation of a solution from a solute and a solvent is a physical process and not a chemical process. This means that both solute and solvent can be recovered in chemically unaffected forms using appropriate separation method. For example is the process of evaporation. Solid table salt as a solute, when dissolved in a water as a solvent, will make a saline solution. The salt can be recovered easily by means of evaporation. This is the process used in the production of table salt from seawater. Let's now entertain enthalpy. So, sino si enthalpy? Okay? Enthalpy is a thermodynamic quantity whose values depends only on the state of the substance. Example is temperature, pressure, volume, etc. The enthalpy change in the solution formation is the sum of the enthalpy changes that occurs in the solute and in the solvent. In figure 2.4, this is a solvation process. Solvation process is a process where the solute particles is surrounded by solvent particles. For this process to occur, energy is needed to overcome the interactions between the molecules. These interactions have different energies called enthalpy heat. So yung solute natin, meron siyang enthalpy heat, and the solvent natin is also meron ding enthalpy heat. Para ma-dissolve ni solvent si solute, energy is needed for each individual particles or individual compound. And kapag na-mix mo sila, it will form another energy. It is either exothermic or endothermic energy. A positive value for the enthalpy of the solution means an exothermic reaction will occur. When we say exothermic reaction, mainit yan siya na reaction. Or yung the resulting solution, or ito, will have a very high temperature. Okay? The solution process will be favorable because the solute-solvent interactions are stronger daw than the solute-solute and the solvent-solvent interactions. Next, a negative value for the enthalpy of the solution means an endothermic reaction will occur. Endothermic means cold, or yung temperature ng ating solution is below its normal temperature. The solution process will be unfavorable because daw yung solute solvent natin is less or weaker than the solute-solute and the solvent-solvent interactions. Let us proceed to letter C, concentration units and its comparison. Concentration is defined as the amount of a substance divided by the total volume of a mixture. Not only in the field of chemistry does concentration is very vital, but in the field of medicine as well. The following are the most common methods of expressing concentration of a solution. Keynotes: solute is solute, solvent is solvent, and solution is a combination of solute and solvent. You need to memorize these formulas about density, percent by mass, PM, percent by volume, PV, percent by mass volume, PMV, parts per million, the ppm, and parts per billion, ppb. Mole, the molecular weight, the mole fraction, molality, small letter m, molarity, big letter M, normality, big letter N, and that's all. So, all in all, hanggang L, you need to familiarize those and also memorize kung maaari dahil in solving various problems, examples natin from 1 to 5, we need these formulas. In normality, let me explain the formula for the normality, which is the gram equivalent weight of solute. It is in terms of mole per equivalent. So this is the unit of the gram equivalent weight of solute over volume of solution, which is in liter. Okay? Pagkuha natin sa gram equivalent weight is equals to the mass of the solute in grams divided by the molecular weight of solute, which is in grams per mole, all over the replaceable hydrogen ion, the hydrogen oxide ion, and the ions of the solute equivalent. The hydrogen ion here is in terms of acids, acid compounds. The OH minus here is in terms of bases compounds. And the ions here are in the bases of yung plus and minus numbers nila. Example 2.1, determine the following: percent by mass, percent by volume, percent by mass and volume, the mole fraction, molal, molarity, and the normality if 106.50 grams of sodium hydroxide is dissolved in 450 ml of water. If density of sodium hydroxide is 2.13 gram per ml. Given na tayo na may solute and may solvent. So the solute here is the sodium hydroxide na may chemical formula na NaOH. And the solvent, we have water. Given sa solute is yung mass na 106.50 grams and also the density na 2.13 grams per ml. Given naman sa solvent is yung 450 ml of water. Since hindi given sa problem yung density ng tubig, let us all memorize that the density of water at normal temperature is 1 gram per ml. Okay? Solution. Percent by mass. By solving this, we need to have or to memorize the percent by mass formula, which is equals to the mass of solute in terms of grams over the mass of solution in terms of grams. So, mass over mass times 100%. We have mass of solute here, 106.50 grams of sodium hydroxide. And then mass of solution is mass of solute and mass of solvent. Since we have mass of solute, we can automatically put it in here. And the mass of solvent, we need to solve that. In order for us to compute the mass of the solvent, since water yung solvent natin, and given tayo ng volume, which is yung 450 ml, we can get the mass of the water by solving in terms of its density. Okay? Yung density formula natin is ρ equals mass in terms of grams over volume in terms of milliliter. If you cross-multiply that, you can get mass equals the ρ or the density times the volume. Cross-multiply ha. Ibig sabihin yung mass natin, ito lang yung importante. So, if we move all the not important or yung mga bagay na hindi natin or yung mga bagay na given, example is yung density and the volume given siya, pwede mo siyang ilagay na magkasama. So, for them to be together, you need to move the volume up para maging density times volume. So, ang natira dito is mass. So, equals, so mass in terms of grams is equals to density of water, which is 1 gram per milliliter, times the volume of the water, which is 450 ml. You cross out that ml and cross out this ml here. Ang matitira is unit of gram. So 1 times 450 is equals to 450 grams of water. So the mass of solvent is 450 grams of water. So by using the percent by mass formula, we can automatically input the 106.50 grams sodium hydroxide and all over the mass of solution, which is 106.50 grams sodium hydroxide and the 450 grams of water. It multiply that by 100 by 100, we can get 19.14%. Okay. Next is percent by volume. By using the percent by volume formula here, dito naman is in terms of volume. So, volume of solute all over volume of solution, both in terms of milliliter times 100%. So, volume of solute is unknown. Unknown, di ba? Kasi ang binigay lang sa atin is, sa problem is mass and yung density. So, from mass and density, we can get the volume of sodium hydroxide. Okay. Here, ayan o. Again, the density formula, rho equals mass over volume. So, kapag dito naman, unknown yung volume mo, you need to interchange the rho and the V here. So, yung rho, bababa, yung mass, nandyan lang. So, volume equals mass over rho. Okay? So, we input that. The mass of the sodium hydroxide is 106.5 grams and the density is 2.13 grams per ml. You cross out the grams, matitira is milliliter. So, 106.50 divided by 213 equals 50 ml sodium hydroxide. So, now we can have the volume of solution na, which is volume of solute plus volume of solvent. And if we can have that, we can now input in here. So, percent by volume now is equals to volume of sodium hydroxide all over the volume of the solution times 100, and that will give us 10%. Dito naman sa percent by mass over volume, dito naman is mass ang nasa solute or mass ang nasa taas over volume ng solution. So, in terms sa mass na yung ating solute over volume of solution. Okay? So, yung mass ng solute natin is in terms of grams and the volume of our solution is milliliter. So, mass of solute given tayo niyan, which is yung 106.50 grams sodium hydroxide. And then yung volume of solution from the previous computation we had is ito, di ba? 50 ml sodium hydroxide and 450 ml water. So, times 100, can get the percent by mass volume, which is 21.30%. Next is the mole fraction. Using the mole fraction formula, NF, N is the mole. Mole. So, F is the fraction. It is just the mole of solute over mole of solution. Both are in terms of mole and mole. So, mole of solute is unknown. Also, the mole of solution is unknown. Makukuha lang natin yung ating mole kapag ginamitan natin ng mole formula or yung ating molecular formula. In-interchange lang yan siya to get the molecular formula and also the mole formula. Isa lang yan sila. So, N or the mole is equals to the mass ng compound all over the molecular weight ng compound. From the periodic table of elements, the molecular weight of sodium hydroxide and water can be computed. From periodic table of elements, yung sodium natin, molecular weight or the atomic mass weight of the individual elements there. Ito. Sodium, 23. Rounded na, 23 grams per mole. Oxygen, 15.999. And that is 16 grams. And hydrogen is 1 gram per mole. So, the atomic mass or the average atomic mass of any element is in terms of gram per mole. Gram per mole. Okay? So, molecular weight ng sodium hydroxide natin is, ang sodium hydroxide natin is composed of sodium, oxygen, and hydrogen. So, you add them, 23, 16, and 1 equals to 40 grams per mole sodium hydroxide. Then, yung molecular weight ng ating water. Sa ating water, meron tayong dalawang hydrogen and oxygen. So, 2 times the 1 gram per mole plus yung 16 gram per mole ng oxygen equals 18 grams per mole water. So, we can get the moles of solute by making use of this formula. Mole equals the mass of the compound all over the molecular weight of the compound. Since given tayo ng mass sa problem ng sodium hydroxide, we can use that. So 106.50 grams all over the molecular weight of sodium hydroxide, which is 40 grams per mole, is equals to 2.66 mole sodium hydroxide. So yung mole of solvent natin, which is yung water, yung na-solve nating mass ng ating tubig, which is yung 450 grams. 450 grams. Ito siya. Okay? 1 gram per ml. Yung density times 450 ml equals 450 grams of water. So, 450 grams all over 18 gram per mole equals 25 mole per water. So, cross out the grams, matitira sa'yo is mole. So, mole of solution is mole ng solute plus mole ng solvent, which is equals to 27.66 mole solution. So, the mole fraction is the mole of solute all over mole of solution times 100 is equals to 0.096. Next question is molality. By using the molality formula, small letter m, it is equals to moles of solute in terms of mole over mass of solvent in terms of kilogram. So, tandaan nyo na sa molality, the denominator is always mass of the solvent in terms of kilogram. So, mole of solute, we have computed that, which is 2.66 mole sodium hydroxide. And the mass of solvent is the water. Okay, water. 450 grams water. You convert that into kilograms. So, 1,000 grams. 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. So, cancel grams and grams. Ang matitira kilogram. That is why 0.45 kilograms of water. So, molality is equals to mole of solute to 2.66 mole sodium hydroxide all over mass of solvent, which is 0.45 kilogram water. Equals, the molality is 5.91 mole per kilogram, or it can also be 5.91 molal, or again, it can also be 5.91 m, small letter m. So, next question is the molarity. So, yung kaibahan ng molality sa molarity is they have both mole of solute. It's just that in molarity, instead of mass, it is volume of, but instead of solvent, it is in solution. Volume of solution in terms of liters. So, kaibahan nila, molal is yung mass of solvent lang. Sa molarity is volume of the solution. Okay? In terms of liters. So mole of solute is 2.66 moles sodium hydroxide, and the volume of solution is 50 ml ng sodium hydroxide and the 450 ml of water. Ito siya is computed na natin to, diba kanina? It is equals to 500 ml solution. So, milliliter converted to liter is multiply ka lang ng maglalagay ka ng division. ml, so kailangan nasa baba yung ml. So, 1 liter is equals to 1,000 ml. Cancel ml, cancel ml. Matitira is 500 times 1 divided by 1,000 is equals to 0.5 liter solution. So, the molarity is 2.66 moles sodium hydroxide over 0.5 liter of solution. So, equals 5.32 mole per liter or 5.32 molar or 5.32 m. Big letter M. Last is the normality. Normality formula is gram equivalent weight of solute, this formula here, which is in terms of mole per equivalent all over the volume of solution. So, na-compute na natin itong volume of solution kanina, which is 0.5 liter solution. So, by computing the gram equivalent weight, we need the mass of solute, which is 106.50 grams, divided by the molecular weight of solute, na-compute na natin to kanina, 40 gram per mole sodium hydroxide. Divided by mass of solute divided by molecular weight of solute and divided by replaceable H plus o H minus ions of the solute. So, sa case natin, yung solute natin is sodium hydroxide. And sodium hydroxide is a base. Mayroon siyang OH. So, ilan yung OH niya? Isa lang. So, replaceable OH is 1 equivalent because sodium hydroxide is a base. The sodium plus OH minus has 1 OH minus present. So, the volume of solution is 0.5 liter. Punta tayo sa gram equivalent weight computation, 106.50 grams divided by 40 grams per mole sodium hydroxide all over equivalent hydroxide. So, gram divided by gram per mole, makakancel out yung grams. Ang matitira is yung mole. So, kaya siya mole per equivalent. So, mole per equivalent. When you compute that, it will give us 2.66 mole equivalent. We need to input that into normality formula, which is 2.66 mole equivalent sodium hydroxide per 0.5 liter of solution. So, the normality is 5.33 mole equivalent liter. Yan yung kanyang unit. Or, normality is equals to 5.33 normal, or normality is equals to 5.33 N. Big letter N. Let us proceed now to example 2.2. What mass of nitric acid is present in 5,000 ml 1.2 molar solution? Given tayo solute the nitric acid, the mass of the solute is unknown, and the solvent here, since hindi siya indicated sa problem, automatically water, because water is the common solvent used in most solutions. So, the solution is solute and the solvent, which is, from the given is, yung may molarity siya na 1.2 molar or mole per liter. And also, volume ng solution is 5,000 ml converted to liter. By solving the mass of the solute, we must know the mole of the solute and the molecular weight of the solute. because mass of solute or the nitric acid, yun yung question. So, using the molarity formula, mole solute over volume solution can get by mathematical interchanging this. Mole solute is equals to mass times, molar times the volume of solution, which is now this one. So, mole of solute is equals to, given ka 1.24 mole per liter ng solution, i-multiply mo siya sa 5 liter nung solution. Okay? Kasi nga, di ba, molar is mole solute over liter solution. So, the liter solution given tayo here is 5,000 ml or 5 liters. So, i-multiply mo siya dun sa molar para makakuha ka ng mole nung solute. Ito siya, the mole. So, 1.24 times 5, i-crush out mo yung L, yung liter. Yung liter, matitira is mole ng solute, which is 6.2 mole nitric acid. From the periodic table of elements, hydrogen is 1 gram per mole, oxygen 16 gram per mole, and nitrogen 14 gram per mole. The molecular weight of nitric acid is 1 hydrogen, 1 nitrogen, and 3 oxygen. So, 1 plus 14 plus 13 plus 3 times 16, which is 63 gram per mole. Using the mole or the molecular weight formula, which is mass over mole, to get the mass, you can now interchange that and will become mole times molecular weight. So, the mass of solute is now mole solute times the molecular weight of solute. So, 6.2 times 63. Crush out the mole. Matitira na lang is gram. So, the mass of the nitric acid is 390.60 grams. Example 2.3. How many grams of salt must be added to 800 ml water to prepare 12.5 or 12.50% salt solution? Given tayo na solute and solvent. The solute here is salt. Maraming kinds of salt. So, sa question na to, hindi na sabi kung anong klaseng salt siya. So, salt lang. Yung solvent natin is water, which is 800 ml. Ayan siya. And again, density ng water is not given, pero memorize na dapat natin yan, which is 1 gram per ml. So, the solution is combination ng salt and ng water. Tinanong dito is grams of salt. So, grams of salt, given tayo dito na 12.50 salt solution. So, that is percent by mass. Okay? Mass, kasi gram salt yung hinahanap. So, percent by mass is 12.50%. So, percent by mass is, ano nga yan? Mass of solute in terms of gram over mass of solution. So, yung solution natin is salt and water. Pero yung tubig natin is given lang is 8,000 ml and yung density na 1 gram per ml. We can convert that into grams or yung mass by solving the density and the volume of the water. So, mass of the water is equals to density times volume, which is 1 gram per ml times 800 ml, now become 800 grams of water. So, using percent by mass formula, you can get the mass of solute by interchanging this formula. So mass of solute now will become parts percent by mass over 100% times mass of solution. So mass of solute is equals to percent by mass over 100% times yung mass of solution is combination ng mass ng solute and mass ng solvent. So, by distributing this one inside the mass solute and mass solvent, we can have percent by mass over 100% times mass ng solute plus percent by mass over 100% times mass ng solvent. So, hinahanap natin is mass solute. Okay? So, this has the same bases. So, ito siya. Ito. We can now move that to the left. So, by moving that to the left, yung sign niya is from positive here, magiging negative na siya sa kabila. So, mass solute, copy here, copy. Okay? Then, ililipat mo siya sa kabila, magiging negative parts, percent mass over 100% times mass solute. And now, equal to, natira dito, ito na yung natira, so PM over 100% times mass solvent. So, mass solute, ilalabas natin siya, kasi parehong basis nito is mass solute. So, dito, 1 yan, may 1 dyan, and PM over 100%. So, ilalabas mo siya, ang matitira sa loob, ang matitira dito is 1 minus PM times 100%. So, open and close parentheses na yun siya. Copy mo lang to, equal. So, now, we have mass solute na. So, this equation here, ililipat na sa kabila. Pero since multiplication siya, magiging division. So, ibababa mo siya. Okay? Ibababa mo siya. So, PM over 100 times mass solvent is now equals to, over, ito na, 1 minus PM over 100%. So, ito na siya yung bago nating equation. Okay? So, given tayo ng mass solvent na 800 grams, tapos yung PM natin na 12.50%, input lang, and then doing the calculation, we can now have mass of solute, which is 114.29 gram salt. Example 2.4. What is the concentration of ions if the solution found to contain it has a concentration of 2 times 10 to the minus 5 molar? So, given tayo ng solute and solvent. The solute is iron, which is Fe3+. Okay? Solvent natin, hindi na naman siya indicated sa question, so automatically water. So, the solution is the combination of iron and the water, which has a molar concentration given sa problem na 2 times 10 to the minus 5 molar, or 2 times 10, 2.00 times 10 to the minus 5 mole solute per liter solution. Diba? Ayan yung ating molar unit is mole ng solute over liter solution. So, mole of solute here is, yung N natin is 2.00 times 10 to the minus 5 moles. And the volume of our solution is 1 liter. 1 liter. Solution. The concentration of iron must be expressed in terms of parts per million, MV. MV because given tayo ng mole ng solute. So we can convert that mole to mass by computing the molecular weight of the iron para makakuha tayo ng mass of solute. So meron na tayong volume of solution which is 1 liter. Since the given concentration of the solution from the problem is molarity, ito na siya. So the mole of solute per 1 liter solution is yung N natin na 2 times 10 to the minus 5 or 0.12345. Yan yung ibig sabihin ng minus 5 niyan is 5 places bago mag 2. So, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, sa 5th place is yung 2. Okay? So, the volume of solution is 1 liter. Iko-convert natin siya into 1,000 ml because ppm mv is in terms of milliliter. So to get the mass of solute, we need the molecular weight of iron, which is 55.85 gram per mole. From the periodic table, iron is 55.845 gram per mole. So the molecular weight is mass over mole. By interchanging that, we can get molecular weight times the mole. Then 55.85 gram per mole times yung mole natin, crush out the mole, and then matitira is gram iron. Ayan na siya. So the mass of solute natin is 1.12 times 10 minus 3 gram iron, or tatlo yan. So 1, 2, pagsapit sa 3 is yung number na given, 112 gram iron. So the ppm in mass per volume is yung mass of solute, which is 0.00112 gram all over the volume of solution times million. Okay, that's the million here, parts per million. So times million, we can get 1.12 ppm. Let us answer the last question, example 2.5. What is the percentage by mass of a 1.25 molal 4,000 milliliter sulfuric acid solution if the density of sulfuric acid is 1.84 gram per ml? Given tayo ng solute and solvent, the solute here is sulfuric acid, which is H2SO4, and the solvent is not hindi sinabi sa problem, so automatically water. Density of sulfuric acid is 1.84 grams per ml. So the solution is combination of sulfuric acid and water, and the concentration has a molar concentration of 1.25 mole solute per kilogram solvent. So the mole of solute N is 1.25 and the mass of solvent is 1 kilogram. Volume of the solution is 4,000 ml or 4 liters. That is 4 liters. Solution using the percent by mass formula. Kasi yung tinatanong is percentage by mass. Mass of solute over mass of solution times 100%. To get the mass of solute, we need the molecular weight of H2SO4. From periodic table of elements, hydrogen is 1 gram per mole, sulfur is 32 gram per mole, and oxygen is 16 gram per mole. So the molecular weight is 2 times hydrogen plus S plus 4 times oxygen. So 2 times 1 plus 32 plus 4 times 16 equals 98 gram per mole H2SO4. From the molar concentration of solution, which is 1.25 mole solute over kilogram solvent, The mole of solute N is 1.25 mole H2SO4, and the mass of solvent is 1 kilogram water or 1000 gram per water. Since percent by mass is in terms of grams and grams. So the molecular weight formula, you need only the mass. So mass is equals to molecular weight times mole. Input the numbers. So 98 gram per mole. Sulfuric acid times the 1.25 mole H2SO4. Cancel out the mole. Matitira sa'yo is grams. Mass of solute is 122.5 gram H2SO4. Mass of solution is combination of solute and solvent. So, mass of solute is 122.5 gram and mass of water is, ito siya, which is ito siya, yan siya, itong kilogram solvent, which is 1,000 gram water. So, mass of solution is 1122.5 gram solution. Parts per million now is equals to mass of solute over mass of solution times 100%. We can get 10.91% H2SO4. That's all for my lesson 2, section A, B, and lesson 2, letter A, B, and C, parts only.